Good morning. This is Lars Olson, and this is today's Quiet Echo. A kid came into my store last week with a list. He had it written out in pencil, on the back of an envelope, in his own hand. Not on a phone. A list, folded twice, gone a little soft at the corners from writing around in his pocket. He wanted a tape measure, a speed square, a chalk line, and a framing hammer, and he had a question about every one of them. He is 18 years old. In 2 weeks, he starts an apprenticeship with a framing crew. I walked him down the aisle the way I walk everybody down the aisle. I do not point. I walk a person to the thing they came for. I showed him why the cheapest tape measure is a waste of his money, and why the middle one is not. I showed him why the most expensive square will not frame a wall any straighter than the square for half the price. He listened, he wrote it down. Then he hefted a good framing hammer, and a cheap one in each hand, and he held them there a moment. And he felt the difference the second he picked up the good one, better balanced, truer in the swing, and he decided it was worth every bit of the money before I had finished telling him why. Then he asked me a question. He asked me what I would buy if it were my own first week on a crew. Nobody had asked me a question like it in a long while. Here is what I did not say to him, because a boy on his first errand does not need a speech from the man at the counter. He is not as rare as he thinks he is. Some of the fastest growing programs in American colleges last year were not in law. They were not in business. They were not in computers. They were the ones which teach people to fix engines and build things. Enrollment in those programs climbed more than 10% in a single year, while the 4-year degree barely moved. The people who count college enrollment for the whole country have watched it happen 3 years running. 3 years. So this kid, standing at my counter feeling like the odd one out, is part of one of the biggest shifts in American education right now. He just does not know it yet. He came back 2 days later for a chalk line he had forgotten the first time. While I was ringing him up, he told me something, almost as an apology. He said he was never much for school. His cousin is the one going to be a lawyer, he said. And he said it the way a man says a thing he has already made up his mind to feel bad about. Head down, quiet, like he was confessing something. I set the chalk line down on the counter, and I told him to stop apologizing. I have stood behind this counter a long time, and let me tell you what I have learned. When a pipe lets go at 2 in the morning, you do not need an opinion about it. You need a person. You need somebody who can find the shutoff in the dark, and stop the water before it reaches the drywall. And the person who learned to do it sleeps fine at night. He sleeps fine because the work cannot be shipped overseas. It cannot be handed to a machine. And it does not arrive with 30 years of debt stapled to it. I have watched grown men stand helpless in their own flooded basements, in their good shoes, waiting on somebody like him to call them back. And there is something a pay stub does not show. A person who can build a thing with his own 2 hands walks through the world a little differently. He knows what he is worth, because at the end of a long day he can stand back and see it. Now, let me tell you where I come from on this. My father taught me this trade, in this store. His father taught him before him. The store has stood on this same corner since the 1960s. The floorboards have dips worn into them, right down the middle, from 3 generations of people walking the same aisles, day after day, year after year. I did not learn this work from a book. I learned it standing next to a man who knew where every part in the place was, and why, and who walked his customers to the aisle instead of pointing at it. A trade moves hand to hand, one person to the next, or it does not move at all. And I will tell you something we do not like to admit. For a while there, we nearly let it stop moving. We told a whole generation of kids there was one road worth taking, and it ran through a 4-year college, and everything else was settling for less. We were wrong. We watched the plumbers, and the electricians and the carpenters get gray and tired, and we did not send anybody up behind them. And now half the country cannot find a person to fix what is broken in their own house. So here is what I want to say to you this morning. The next time a young person tells you they are going into a trade, do not give them the look. You know the look. Do not ask them in the gentle voice whether they have really thought about college. They have thought about it. They ran the numbers. They picked the harder thing. And one day, they will be the only one on the block who can fix what is broken. And if you know a kid, like the one who walked into my store, the one with the pencil list, the one quietly apologizing for the life he already wants, do me a favor. Hand him a good tape measure, and then get out of his way, and watch what he builds. Cedar Valley News has a group on Facebook. If you have something to add, you are welcome there. Tell us about the young person in your life who is learning to build or fix things. I will put the link in the show notes. This is Lars Olson, your host for today's Quiet Echo. Thanks for listening. Quiet Echo is part of the fictional Cedar Valley news series, written by Evan Swenson, publisher, and Claude Marshall, AI developmental editor. While the people and town of Cedar Valley are fictional, the rise in skilled trades enrollment described in this episode is real.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News.